I honestly absolutely love honest reviews. They've helped me throughout my life making decisions of whether I want to go to a specific restaurant or I want to go buy a specific product, one versus the other. They've been so helpful and they help everyone else. I know that for a fact. I always go and look at reviews and it's a fantastic way of finding a great product. And the guys that do it out of the purity and for the greater good, to those guys, I really commend you. I love that people can make reviews and not actually be impacted one way or the other. This brings me to a very important point before we address any other aspect of the review video. Number one, I want to mention we believe there is a conflict of interest, and we're going to discuss that. Number two, I want there to be no doubt that we have no problem with anyone leaving a review on our products, whether it's positive or negative or neutral, because it helps us become better as a company and it helps ultimately the customer receive a better and better product in terms of quality and value. That's something that should be without a doubt for any of our customers moving forward. Now, I want to create a scenario for you that I want all of you guys to imagine with me. We're going to go through these scenarios and see what you think about them. First scenario is, imagine you're going to your physician and your physician is in a position right now to prescribe a certain set of medications for you to make whatever your ailment is better. Now your physician has 3 or 4 prescriptions available to them to treat you. What is your expectation from that physician? Your expectation, of course, is or should be to prescribe what is absolutely best for you as a patient. And that expectation is not unfounded, because if that physician you found out later on was prescribing a certain set of medication to you because they were getting a commission or a cut from those sales of that prescription, you would be upset, right? Of course you would. And you have every single right to be. To the extent that this was the norm in the pharmaceutical industry for a very long period of time. And eventually that caused our Congress to actually fix this by making that illegal later on. Now, if your physician gets anything more than a lunch from a pharmaceutical company, they have to report that and disclose that to their patients. Those kickbacks financially are no longer there, and rightfully so. I want to explain another scenario, and I think this will crystallize it even more. Imagine you're in court, and you and the other company, regardless of the dispute, one of you finds out that the judge has stock in one of the company and actually is really good friends with the CEO of that company. How would you feel if that judge was actually ruling on your case? That conflict of interest actually would force the judge not only to disclose, but to recuse himself from that case. And if they found out later on that that judge did not do so, that would be huge grounds for that judge to be removed from his position. I think the explanation that I've provided here in the scenarios are very clear. The same standards apply in terms of conflict of interest for reviewers who claim to be neutral. Now, there's nothing wrong if you're a reviewer and you obtain some type of financial benefit from a company versus another. That's called advertising. That's fine. As long as you disclose to your customers that you are, or the viewers rather, that you are getting paid a commission off of these products. But to claim that you're honestly unbiased when you are actively in the same breath stating that you are receiving an affiliate commission from the sales of that product, regardless of that product's commission. That commission could be 1% to 100%. It doesn't matter. In the court of law and the court of public opinion, rather, which is what was relevant here, that is called a conflict of interest because you are getting paid from one versus the other. If you have a personal connection to one company, that's something that people might want to know. My best friend did a startup and I was comparing his product to another. You think there might be a personal interest in me benefiting my friend's company. That's only natural. It's only intrinsic. We expect that to happen. Something like that should be probably put with an asterisk. So that's our only issue with a review that's in that circumstance. To be very clear, if that person wants to do the same with us, that's fine. But we expect the same from the reviewer to go out and state hey, I'm getting paid a commission from OfficeLogix. So at least everyone that sees that review takes that review with a grain of salt and actually puts an asterisk next to it. Yeah, that guy is getting paid by OfficeLogix to make a review, and any type of positive review, calling it the best headrest ever created, is going to be understood with some type of skepticism, as it should be. Now, I want to qualify my discussion here on the conflict of interest issue, and also later on, the Magnuson Law, which Dan brings up. The conflict of interest that I'm bringing up, that's something that we were taught in law school, also in the Professional Responsibility Code of Ethics for lawyers as well, by the way. Whether you be a judge or even an attorney, if you had a past client that might conflict with your future client's interests, you have to disclose that and oftentimes recuse yourself from that case. I'm qualifying myself as an attorney. Now, don't get me wrong, Dan's interpretation of the Magnuson Law was pretty good for a layman, but doesn't cut muster for someone that actually, studies the law and actually interprets laws. If any other lawyers want to put their, 2 cents and opinion in it, that's fine. I'm not only coming here from as a perspective as a co-founder and CEO of the company, but I'm coming as an attorney. In terms of our product and our headrest and the interest and the way that we designed it, we're qualifying that too. My business partner that we started with and the COO of this company is an engineer. He has a lot of engineering background, and there are specific reasons why we made some of the aspects Dan might have concerns with, which we'll explain later on. Some of the concerns that he has are valid in our opinion, and we'll make those better. Some of them, we don't consider them as much. We want to discuss the Magnuson Law. I hate to bring this back up again because this law was discussed a long time ago by myself. We had a very long issue with many customers asking if our product voided the warranty. There was a huge problem that we were facing with Atlas promoting their product as the only product that did not void the warranty of Herman Miller chairs. We dug deeper, we communicated directly with Herman Miller, and they refuted that 100%. We had the receipts to show that via email. We still have those. Anyone that would like copies of those, we're happy to provide. Specifically, in the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, in 15 U.S. Code 2302, Section C, that is a provision called the anti-tie-in provision. And the anti-tie-in provision expressly states that you cannot restrict your warranty to your own brand, let alone another brand. So if Herman Miller actually made a headrest, hypothetically, they could not say the only way we'd honor our warranty is if you only used our headrest, let alone Atlas saying that they are the only ones to be able to have the warranty honored, which is crazy because Herman Miller themselves, if they made a headrest, they cannot require that. That would be against the anti-tie-in provision. And that is why they are very careful in stating that they do not endorse any specific company. Now, there may have been some kind of relationship between Atlas and Herman Miller. We can't confirm nor deny that. That is not our business. What we do know is that is not something that is allowed legally, and that's why we had to come up with those videos to expressly refute them and state, listen, not our headrest, nor Atlas's headrest, nor even engineered now on our engineering and legal perspective on the matter, void the warranty. For that matter, any headrest out there that does not intrusively damage the structure of the chair, does it void the warranty? FYI, according to the interpretation, if we dig deeper, even minor damage that's like aesthetic damage could be argued by some attorneys that are very good that this is not a voiding of the warranty. It would have to go probably deeper than that and actually affect the mechanical function of the chair. With that being said, we strictly believe that our headrest does not affect the function of the chair whatsoever. If anything, we believe it enhances it. But let's leave it at the fact that it does not affect the function mechanically. And we're going to address the aspect that Dan brings up, which he cleverly found an exception within the Section C of the Magnuson anti-tie-in provision, which that exception, I'm going to speak it in layman's terms. We could push it up on the screen here and you'll see it and you can read it for yourselves. Basically, if your product actually is the cause of the damage, only then, and the original warrantor, basically Herman Miller, would have to prove your product is the source of that damage, can they deny the warranty? It's a very high standard. Saying, hey, yeah, maybe it could be after maybe like a million, touches and like a million crazy scenarios that maybe you're damaging the chair, probably wouldn't be enough. Yeah, Dan, like you probably get a C grade, maybe a C minus on that evaluation of that section of the law. But I give you props for trying to attempt to make that evaluation. It is an exception. That exception is there. And we actually believe that ours does not fall within that exception. With that being said, let's evaluate what we're talking about here specifically. The primary concern point is right here. This hook, which when we designed this hook, my business partner and co-founder actually designed this hook because there was a very strong concern about the x-axis. We easily resolved the y-axis with the vertical stopper right here, which I commend Atlas. They made a very great design as well in stopping the vertical axis movement. That was easy. The hard part, stopping the x-axis rotation when you did not want that, because this is a long spine relative to the rest of the chair because the Embody chair has a longer back. We thought of all different types of solutions and contraptions, and we kept on coming back with different prototypes, and every single prototype had a flaw that if you pushed your head to a certain extent, your head would be able to force that spine backwards, no matter how much you tried to secure it. We came up with other designs. They were extremely intrusive, and we didn't want to do that. This hook had to come over the top of the chair, and we wanted it. It was very important for us that it didn't affect the visual aspect of the chair. And then more importantly, the actual quality and condition of the chair. So first thing we did was we made sure that the hook matched the color of the fabric as close as possible, because underneath that hook it's an aluminum hook. So obviously it's not going to match the fabric 100%. We covered it with a silicone piece of rubber that was clear so that the color would show through, but also be super smooth and cause an extremely low friction coefficient with the fabric of the chair. We believe that there's absolutely no situation the chair's headrest is going to naturally wobble from side to side. We've never heard that from anybody except Dan, to be honest. We do know that our primary concern was this. And when you put the vertical stopper with this, you'll see that it's extremely tight. There's no really ability for it to move back and forth. The only thing that we can give credence to is yes, it will, if you over a period of time leave it tightly connected to your chair, leave an imprint in that foam. But that foam is not a low quality foam. If it was a low quality gaming chair foam, you'd probably see that imprint and never come back. If the cushion and the foam and the Embody chair went flat because of this permanently, we'd probably know there's an issue with the cushion itself. We know that the cushion would go flat from just naturally people sitting 8 to 10 hours a day in a chair. We know that it's a temporary thing, and if you were to leave it, it would probably pop back up. To be honest with you, you're going to also probably see normal wear and tear on your Embody chair cushions. If you ever pull up a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old Embody, you're going to see that sometimes the parts where the people make the most contact with that chair, there are marks in the fabric where it's worn away the colors, and sometimes even to the point where the coils underneath the seat start to show through the fabric. And sometimes in the back, where the lower lumbar area, you'll see a mark where that lumbar support has actually pushed through the fabric and left a mark. That's normal. You might see in 10 to 12 years that same mark from your Embody headrest. Is that any different than the cushions and the coils that you're seeing popping through? In our opinion, no. Is it going to void your warranty? I think Herman Miller would have a very hard time proving so. Herman Miller, by the way, doesn't even actually consider normal wear and tear of the fabric as something that they would cover in your warranty, by the way. Only if something were to happen within 1 to 2 years, would you probably imagine seeing something like, oh yeah, the fabric was torn within a year or two, would Herman Miller probably be forced to honor such a warranty? Here's where actually our concerns with the Atlas headrest comes into play, which is bigger. Specifically pertaining to this product, and now that Dan has brought up the exception in the Magnuson-Moss law, we are going to discuss something that it's not us that have brought this up. So you're going to take this with a grain of salt, because obviously it's in our best interest to promote our product. So we are biased. But don't take my words from it. Take the words of all these tens of customers that we're going to show you that have been complaining about the specific issue, which we do believe could void your warranty. The way that the Atlas headrest works, in terms of the x-axis, is they try to control it, instead of from the top with our hook through a static function, they try to control it with a mobile connection point right here. So this knob, really high quality rubber by the way, is locked down with a hex key. This hex key nut actually is the only way that you can lock this from the x-axis, moving back and forth. And we've tried it ourselves. We've almost stripped down this bolt as well, trying to lock it. And when we put our head back, if we really try to and we force it with our head, it will go back. Do I think that's a normal use of the chair? Not really, because your head is really between 5 to 10 pounds on average, just right under the weight of a bowling ball. If I rest my head, it's not going to really go back. That's something that's not realistic. But I do know that people, as an experience as an entrepreneur, they like to try to force things and see how they can push the limit. So I'm not surprised that I'm seeing these happen online. Here's the problem that we have. When that happens and that forcing happens, we're seeing people try to fix that with 10 to 25 cent zip ties and plumbing pipe straps, which is crazy to see that someone would have to pay hundreds of dollars and then to use their headrest properly, use something like a zip tie. That's something that you guys should judge, and you can put in the comments below if that's something that you'd be acceptable for you. The bigger problem than that is we as refurbishers for many, many years refurbished broken embodies. Even new embodies that are a few months old were being broken, and we got our hand on these through liquidations. And when we got them, we noticed there was a common point that was broken, and it was always the part underneath in the back of the chair, underneath the dome. There's something that Herman Miller calls the antler. This is actually a separate piece that connects to the spine. And that spine and dome antler connection breaks even during something as simple as shipping the chair to the customer. That's why Herman Miller actually later on reinforced their packaging to actually protect the spot, because so many of them were breaking during shipping. And from an engineering perspective, even forget just putting the zip tie aside, this whole x-axis is actually resting on the spine dome antler connection. And so when you push your weight on this, you're putting a strain on that connection. While we disperse our vertical force on the vertical stopper and the horizontal force, shear force on the hook, Atlas focuses all the forces on this vertical stopping connection. So their shear forces are being reliant on this, as well as the vertical forces. We believe this is a very strong point and potentially causing that antler dome connection to break. Also, are the positive points that we've learned from Atlas. We believe the back plate on their Embody headrest is spectacular. We still haven't been able to achieve the level of matching on that. While Atlas has a better transparency in terms of the back plate, we commend them for that. We have focused more on the vertebrae. And if you notice here, our vertebrae, actually, when our engineers and our designer took that, they put that in their back plate. So it's literally almost continuation of that spinal vertebrae pattern that you see here. That had to force us to make a harder plastic here to support the headrest than focusing on a softer, more translucent backplate. They have compromised on the vertebrae. They have attempted to make their own design of the vertebrae here, but they don't continuously go through the same pattern as the one on the Embody. Well, we took ours from 1-to-1. We intentionally did not put our logo on our headrests because we wanted the main focus to be your Embody chair. Well, Atlas has their logo on their headrest. We've had to focus on the Herman Miller logo and branding as much as possible so that it stays cohesive. So that's why we made this square here. So whether you have the tag can go through. Whether you don't have the tag, you have the Herman Miller logo showing through. The focus always is on the chair, not our headrest. And so we didn't want to cover it up with a solid block that covers a very large section of your spine. The next thing is we tried to mimic a lot of the design elements of the Embody in our design as well. the spine here is supposed to be a replica of the larger spine overall. So this should be like considered a miniature spine of the overall spine here. Even the space that we created here, this window, is an inverted window of the larger one on the bottom base. The knob for this axis is actually supposed to mimic the same kind of knob for your lumbar control. We have the grid, and then on top of that, we have the folded dome. Here, there's no folded dome. They focus larger surface area on the bottom, which we understand why they did that, instead of the folded dome that we have here. The folded dome on the top should replicate the folded dome that you see here on the Embody. So it's like almost an extension of the top of the chair. I thank everyone for following us throughout these years and supporting us as long as they have. We are making improvements on our products. We have already done so from the day that we made the design of the Embody headrest. We took your input and we actually applied it directly. This hook was actually made wider and bigger because people mentioned they wanted it wider for the headphones and not just for a coat or a purse. Our foam has gotten thicker since the first editions that we ever made. Our plastic has even increased in quality. Now, some people tried to evaluate them based off of weight. And what we found was that actually when you fully assemble our headrest and fully assemble the Alice headrest, there's only actually 0.05 pounds difference in the weights between ours and theirs. So it's relatively the same. What we intend on making better in terms of improvements, absolutely. We might be able to hit the transparency in the future, maybe not. But our focus was on the structure more so than the transparency for this particular aspect, because we have hit so many other aesthetic aspects in the design that we're very proud of. We are coming out with more colors. We wanted to focus on the major colors that people are looking for, and that's why we only have a limited context, and we wanted to actually fulfill those very quickly. As far as the pricing goes, Dan, I know you chose to buy from Amazon, which is fine. There's also built-in costs that are related to that kind of sale. But we do sell it largely actually on our website more than anything else. And we do believe that and are aware that the pricing on our website is significantly cheaper than both our Amazon site purchase price and Alice's price as well. We wanted to make our product relatively affordable within our means. I know you mentioned in the video that this terrible, terrible headrest that you received has burned a hole in your pocket. And even though you purchased it around 6 to 7 months ago, we're happy to honor a return for that headrest if you want. And we can give you a full refund. Maybe that'll help you ease your financial burden. No problems, no questions asked. That refund will come back to you. As far as the warranty on ours, we're happy to honor the warranty on our headrest that we have on our boxes. We have a 2-year warranty that's on the box that you probably received, and I guess you didn't want to look at maybe, but that warranty is on the box. We're happy to let you know that, we've already corrected the issue with the website not stating it. And as far as any questions you have, there's a lot of questions that you had. You have my email. We've communicated before. You have our phone number, which we've provided to you. You didn't decide to communicate with us. You can always pick up the phone and you can call me direct. So if you have any questions, you don't need to leave it ambiguous and do it in a video, but you can contact directly. That's not a problem. As far as some of the issues that you mentioned, I thought the funniest ones were when you did something like this. The fact that you said that you had a huge amount of pain when you made contact with your head like this position is kind of laughable. I don't really see anyone using our headrest in that perspective or manner, not even accidentally. Hey man, I guess it could be out there. Someone could do something like that. Cool. If that's the way you want to use a headrest, fine by us. But I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that anyone would try to sit on the chair and lean their head back knowing that this is on a horizontal plane like that. So I'll leave that there and I won't address it any further. As far as us not being able to give you that headrest, when we first mentioned it, and we discussed it in that email, that our primary priority was to fulfill all of the pre-orders that we had as quickly as possible, because those customers paid for a product that they did not even have or did not even see yet. That's a super high responsibility that we take seriously. It is our responsibility to fulfill those orders so that they get their return on their investment as quickly as possible. We mentioned that we had Mira 2 headrests that were relatively new and that we'd love for somebody to review them and that we would give it to you for free. If there's other products that you'd like to review, we'd be happy to do so, but only on the requirements that you don't provide a promo code or an affiliate link to any product, even our own, because that would be disingenuous in terms of the conflict of interest and potentially even violate unfair trade practices and also deceptive advertising and consumer laws. And I want to reiterate one more thing. It's not a personal matter that we have between us and Dan. We actually have no problem with you. Like his channel, actually. It's provided a lot of great information for everyone out there, whether you're buying a Herman Miller or any other product. What we do care about is impartiality and objectivity. Being a best friend of a company that opposes another company and then getting a commission and kickback does fall 100% within the category of conflict of interest. To say that you're impartial, there is some type of, I don't want to go as far as saying dishonesty, but I would say that it could be considered muddying the waters. And saying that is very, very, I would be apprehensive to say that if I was in his position. We were forced to make this video response just because of the fact that our product was brought up, our communication was brought up that we had with him, and we wanted to clear up that communication. We have no qualms in sending products out there to people, especially someone who is not getting paid from any party whatsoever. We know that your livelihood depends on making commissions from affiliate links, so I understand that where your interests are coming from or your incentives are coming from. And that's clearly what we had to clear up and make evident to everyone out there. Thanks again for everybody watching this and for everybody that supported us throughout our whole journey. It's been a crazy ride. And like I said, we're going to make our product better through the feedback that you guys give us. Don't be surprised if we come out with a 2.0 that's even better than what we have now. We stand behind our products, and we're super happy that the majority of our headrests are doing very well, and hundreds of people all around the world are enjoying their embody chair with our headrests.